Moving day. He piles her boxes in the courtyard under a tarp. The bookshelves, microwave, spare phone. And though his friends make clear they wonder why he would help her move, he says it's fine. I want to save her money, help her out. And he does. Helps her move out, feeling weight tear at his muscles. Now, he is without her things. They are inside the truck, her freight, then on the freeway, then in her new flat, then gone. He's glad to ache in shoulder blades and arms. It means that though she's left him flat, left him behind like old footprints, he's made a choice as well to move her, remove her, a choice to move past, not to be moved by her.
Down in the valley, moved up from the city. It's a new way of living and I'm trying to get used to it. One park coolers, half an ounce of an idiot. Ordered a Manhattan and they call me a Cidiot. At first I hurt my feelings, but it's kinda got a ring to it. When you move to the country, they can tell when you're new to it. I'm looking at a place, but I'm trying to keep fitting in. It takes too long to be a local, so for now I'm a Cidiot.
I'm Matt Zucker, and this is Cidiot, learning to live and love life in the Hudson Valley. That very moving poem about moving you just heard was by Tony Barnstone, poet, author, and professor of literature and creative writing at Whittier College in California. And yes, that was actually him reading it for us. Thank you, Professor Barnstone. If you want to read more from him, be sure to check out his book of poetry, Apocryphal Poems, which is beautifully illustrated. I'll put a link to it in the show notes and on the episode page. Now, moving for me as well, it's a lot. I mean, we've all had our share of good and bad moving experiences, right? Us too. Take my husband, Brian. He played piano as a kid, so for years, we hauled his heavy and beloved upright piano from apartment to apartment in Manhattan. I remember moving into our Chelsea place. We were 3 flights up in a narrow 1847 brownstone. It was honestly hard to watch them get it in or out. We finally gave the piano up when we made the big move upstate. It's now with Brian's sister in Brooklyn. When it came to moving upstate the first time, we did the expected and hired a city-based moving company. They were super professional, offered recyclable orange containers I liked, but let's just say they got a little lost trying to find the house upstate. So when it came time to move between Tivoli and Hudson, we decided to go local, just as we do for banks, plumbers, and as I wish we could do for cars. And boy, am I glad we did. Admittedly, the first local mover we called didn't exactly show up on time, but that's kind of par for the course. But the second, that was Maybe's. When I first heard the name, I thought it was hilarious and peak upstate. Maybe we'll show up, maybe we won't. But it's actually spelled Mabeys. It's a family business, and as it turns out, it's a pretty sizable operation. They started right near us in the town of Chatham, and they service the Hudson Valley, the capital area, and beyond, whether you're moving from the city, within upstate, or even across the country. Most importantly, Mabeys actually gets the geography here. They know there are at least 3 different old post roads in every single town, and they actually know the difference between County Route 9 and State Route 9. I mean, the last thing I need is our Nambe platters from our wedding lost in some dirt road. Not that we ever use them. Anyway, 2 years ago, we used Mabeys to move from Tivoli into our Hudson apartment and a storage unit simultaneously. Then we called them again last year to move into the house. We actually still have that storage unit. It was intended to be temporary, but 2 years later, it's basically our second home. It's where our secondary clutter goes to live in its best climate-controlled life. Because moving is such a massive, stressful milestone, with or without a piano nobody plays, I decided to call them up to see if we could unpack the mysteries of moving and storage. Our first Zoom call was with Dave, the regional manager, and Ryan Hart. Coincidentally, Ryan was actually on the team that moved us to Hudson, and he vividly remembered Brian. He did not remember me, though. There's a reason. I wasn't there. I am so deeply traumatized by the physical reality of moving that my official strategy is total abandonment during every move. While Brian was sweat evaporating and watching men lift heavy objects, I went to the office and stayed at work until the dust settled. My contribution, though, I was the label maker consulting partner. For any move, I always do a ton of meticulous, even aggressive box labeling beforehand, marking exactly what things were, which room they belonged in, and if they're destined for storage or the living space. So in this episode, Ryan and I talk about all of it: how to pack properly, why you would want a pro mover, what to expect from an estimate, the importance of climate control, and how to look out for moving brokers, which I didn't even know was a thing. Look, I still don't love moving. I don't love storing my stuff, but I do love maybes, and I'm not the only one. You know how much I crave awards? Well, the Register Star just named Maybes Moving and Storage Columbia County's best moving and storage company. I agree. So get out your blue tape and let's unbox this big, heavy topic. Hi, Ryan.
Hey, Matt, how are you?
Hey, welcome to Cidiot.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you having us, Matt. Thank you so much.
Well, I'm really excited to talk about moving and storage because I've both moved and I store. And like a lot of people do, but I think there's a lot of mystique about like what it takes to do it. And it's something we all go through sometimes multiple times. And, it's funny because I've used maybes, I think 3 of my own moves. So we'll talk about a little bit of that, when we moved from Tivoli to Warren Street and then out from Hudson to Claverack. So I'm like, anyway, I think we know you guys pretty well, and we store with you. You've got my stuff.
Yes. Yep, absolutely. And we appreciate it,
Well, I called the right place. So anyway, but maybe we start with your relationship to the Hudson Valley. Are you from here? Or did you move here?
Yeah, I'm local, born and raised in Albany, moved over to East Greenbush at a pretty young age, which is, 30 minutes from Hudson. But, growing up, I had a lot of friends in Volusia and, Hudson. So I found myself down there a lot. And I still find myself down there a lot, just for business. And there's a lot to do down in the Columbia County area between apple orchards and going over to the Catskills. So it's hard not to gravitate towards that area for sure.
Yeah. And what people don't realize too is that you helped move us. Brian, my husband, realized this. I wasn't there for the move because I can't handle the stress, but he said it was you.
Yes. Yep. I met with Brian. And it was funny seeing that too. But yeah, from start to finish, and again, still with storage. So, full circle here, full circle.
You're lucky because Brian used to have a piano, and when we lived in the city, we would schlep from apartment to apartment, and it was so painful. And he never played it. Like he played it when he was a kid, but then he finally got rid of it, so we could stop moving this thing around.
Again, we appreciate it. My movers certainly do, but that's something we handle every day too. We have the right crews for it for sure.
Well, how did you get into the moving business anyway, or the storage business?
Yeah, honestly, I was in another industry, and that wasn't really what I saw myself doing for a while. And I saw this opportunity, and me being local, I just knew about maybes. Like I just growing up, driving past the facility which you can't miss. It's right off 90. Like you really can't miss it when you drive past it. So I applied. I spoke with the leadership team, and when I met them, it was kind of kismet. Like all the questions I asked were answered correctly, and it's just kind of been history from there.
It was funny when we moved from the city upstate for the first time. We used city movers because that's what we knew, and of course they got lost coming up here. So like when we tried to meet our stuff, it took a couple extra hours, and then when we moved from Tivoli to Hudson, we looked around for a really local mover. We might have found too small an operation because they didn't show up. But we did find maybes. And I think it was a good idea to use more of a local regional brand because you guys are big enough that you actually, know where you're going.
Yeah, absolutely. It's important, just like anything, support local. But the history of maybes in general, we started in Columbia County, and we have been able to expand due to the, family's just success and their smarts about expansion and, going down to the city, going out to Buffalo, even crossing state lines. It's just something that they've done for such a long time. Like moving's in their blood. We know where we're going. A big thing too is our average tenure, local individuals as well. These are all people who live in upstate New York. They know the area. Our average tenure is 8 years for a mover. Like that's in this industry, it's unheard of, and that really goes back to the family as well. They do treat everyone like family. It's part of our core values. They do appreciate working locally and supporting other local businesses. A majority of what keeps me here, honestly, is the family. It's always fun.
And when it comes to moving, I mean, I guess I want this to be a kind of a guide for Cidiots in doing the move, like what the do's and don'ts are. Like when I would like pack up our kitchen, I felt like I was making the boxes too heavy, or I was wrapping stuff and I should let somebody else wrap it. I mean, how do you advise people?
I feel like the big thing is just doing if you're going to pack on your own, do what you are comfortable doing. In terms of the weight of the box, again, the structural integrity of cardboard is what it is. You don't want anything too heavy. If you have an anvil collection or a bowling ball collection, let's keep that out of the box for sure. We don't want to put that in cardboard.
I do not.
What we pack, what we use to pack kitchen goods, it's called the dish pack. It's a double corrugated cardboard. They usually can weigh anywhere from 60 to 70 pounds. And for professional movers, like they know how to lift it appropriately. So I wouldn't be too concerned of making the box too heavy for the movers to lift, but more or less for yourself. Make sure if it is a box of books or if it's a box of dishes, like where it's going to be placed, make sure it's good there and not in your way. You don't want to kind of be living in Box City for the next 2 months or whatnot. So just make sure they're staged properly. And, when it comes to packing breakable, fragile items, just paper is going to be your best friend. Bubble wrap is great, but we prefer paper to put a little bit more environmental conscious. So again, it's just using 3 times the amount that you think you need. That's what you want to use. You want to really brace the bottom of the box. You want to put a good cushion there. This way, everything is, everything's going to be safe. But it also just doesn't hurt to reach out to your representative if you're going to use a moving company and you want to do your packing. There are truly never any bad questions in the moving industry, especially if it's your first time using a mover. Use the estimator, use any of the customer service representatives as a resource. We do a packing guide. I kind of call it like our packing Bible. It's got how to pack like a pro. What we would do. It's got pictures in it. The biggest thing is if you think it's secure it one more time. On local moves, you can be a little bit sparing with that. But when we're going long distance, like from New York to Cali, really rely on the professional. And if you want to do it yourself to cut down on cost, completely understandable. Like those are the moves that can get up there. But again, just talk to them as a resource. They're not going to say no or not give you an answer.
And if you want to have it both ways, where we've had people like pack our kitchen, do you pre-position stuff to kind of speed it up or something? Like, are there things
I would
do? Yeah.
Yeah, I would. And it depends on the move. There's 3 different moves that you're going to come across in the moving industry. If it's local, because you're moving from Claverack to Hudson, that's a time-based move. So anything you do, I always say you're printing your own invoice. If you have things staged, naturally, it's going to go quicker. Things labeled, like I always say, painter's tape is going to be your best friend. Sharpie on cardboard, it's great. But if you just have a nice piece of paper, it's labeled. Yep. This way, again, it's right there and you can label it with kitchen or dining room. But if you have the ability to label the destination with a corresponding number, so like the dining room is 1, label that box with 1. The kitchen is 2, label that box with 2. Again, it's just going to streamline everything on that local move. Now, that goes hand in hand with the long distance moves as well, just because it's going to make the whole process a lot less stressful. But when we're going long distance, those moves aren't really based on time. Those are based on the mileage and the weight. So yes, it is more beneficial to stage those items on a local move because it's going to save you on that time, but it's going to help everyone and make the whole process a lot more seamless if you just stage and everything is clearly labeled, no matter where you're moving, even if you're moving from here to London.
I mean, I know you call an estimator to get a proper rough estimate, but like I never know whether a move is going to be like $10,000 or $4,000. And then we've had moves that were $2,000.
Yeah.
So I don't know like how to even plan for like what to budget.
Yeah, it's a great question. I would say anything that's going to be a 1-bedroom apartment or like 2-3-bedroom home, typically that's a 1-day type move without packing. That's where the costs get in there. There is this common misconception that the move is always going to cost $5,000. That's always been, I don't want to hire a mover because it's going to be $5,000. Like, no, I think you might have seen from yourself. I believe when we did your move, it was probably right around 2, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, which I was pleasantly surprised by because I thought it'd be a lot more.
Yeah, yeah, and again, it's all based on that manpower. Anything under 8,000 pounds, which is typically what you're gonna see in like a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom apartment, or like a home that doesn't have like a home gym. That's usually a 3-man job. It's gonna be around 7 to 8 hours, and it's gonna be sub 2. Now, if we're packing, you're going to add a lot more time. So when you start getting that, we can call it like a white glove service. Like, you don't want to pack anything. Everything's going to be packed up. That typically will add a full second day. So you figure almost double the estimate with the material cost. That's when you start getting into those, $4,000, $3,000 moves. Because again, you are paying for the white glove type service. But if you want to do like a partial pack, have the movers come in and do all the breakables, which 9 times out of 10, that's typically what we do, is kitchen, china, certain pieces of artwork. It still is not going to drive the price up to that crazy number. But again, it also just depends on the quantity that we're moving in general. Whether it's a 3-bedroom home or a 6-bedroom home. Like, clearly, the bigger the home, more stuff, more time, higher the cost.
Yeah. And what's the etiquette on tipping? Do you tip? And if so, how much? Do you do cash? Do you give it to each person? Do you give it to the guy that runs the joint? Do you sue it afterwards? Like, what's the etiquette? I never know. It makes me very nervous at the end.
It's the hardest question for an estimator to answer, right? Like, when the movers go in, they're never expecting a tip. Just like any service, they do get treated well. They're never expecting a tip, but it is always appreciated. Depending on the size of the move will also depend on what you may or may not want to give them. I'm not saying you should or you shouldn't. It's really, I chalk it up to, did they deserve it? Were they smiling? Were they polite? Like, were they following proper etiquette and making you comfortable? Moving is extremely stressful. These guys see it every day. They literally see people pulling their hair out. It's tough. To them, it's a cakewalk. So again, just with that, if they have earned it, if they've deserved it, give them enough for lunch, give them enough. So when they go home, they can say, hey, like, I really made that person's day. You know what I mean?
So like 20 to 40 bucks a person.
Depending on the size. Yeah, I'd say it's very generous. It really depends on the size of the job. If they're going to be there for 3 days, it's a little bit different, but it really is. They never go into it expecting it, but boy, do they appreciate it when it happens.
Wait, how could there be a 3-day move?
Sometimes it does happen. Sometimes you're looking, it could be a full pack of a 4-bedroom home. So you have to pack one day, then load the next day. Say it's, 12,000, 13,000 pounds, which is usually what you see in like a 4 or 5-bedroom home with full basement garage. It's going to be a long day if you try and get that done in a day with a lot of people. So typically, if it's going to be a full pack and move for that size, you're looking at a pack day, a load day, and then the following day will be delivery. Now, it doesn't always happen that way. Sometimes it might just be a pack and a load and then a deliver, or a pack day and then a load and deliver day. So typically you see more 1 to 2 day moves, but
ours was both one day moves, I think, but we had an extra stop because we had like go to the house, but then these boxes go to storage. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we had like 2 different stops or something like that. And then hopefully most of it was like, in the right place at the right time. And then we met at the house or something like that. I think we had like 2 stops.
Yeah. It's very situational. It's always situational. If you're going out of state, like I have one going from Chatham down to Long Island, it's a very, very large move. It's 25,000 pounds, like that's going to be 3 days on site in Chatham, another 2 days down to Long Island. It is very situational, and that's why it's important to work with a company like us, or just, when you're vetting your mover, make sure they're going to offer a transparent survey process. Talking to someone on the phone only goes so far. The estimator needs to see it. You're never going to get a full grasp of the scope of work unless you can actually physically put your eyes on it. It doesn't always need to be an in-person. I do a lot of FaceTimes or Google Meets or Zoom calls with, clients that are coming out of the city or California. As much as I'd love to take a trip to California to do an estimate, I don't know if that's in the budget. I'd have to talk to Ryan about that. But again, it's very important just to make sure that, you're getting a very transparent survey process for sure. Super important.
Yeah. So let's talk about storage too, because I always thought it was funny that we moved out of the city to a house and we still It's storage, which we didn't like. You don't want that. Like that's what you didn't want. You know, before we used some dingy storage company. It was kind of a dump, and we did that for a while. It was nothing into the world, but I hated going there because it just felt so gross. I like your guys because your facility is clean, but it was also easier to use you for Bo. Like that way, we could make the tip top. And it was very, and Brian likes everything to be very integrated. So it really worked out. But I guess it's a little ironic, right, that people use storage when they have these houses. Do you see a lot of that, or are we rare?
Yeah, we go hand in hand with real estate. And the most frustrating step in real estate is closings because you have literally no say in it. As much as you want to and as much as you're paying, unfortunately, it's up to the lawyer and the bank. Sometimes closings don't match up with when your house is being sold to going to the new house. So there could be a 2-3 day delay. You know, 2-3 day delay, we can hold it over in the truck. It'll be easy. But sometimes it's a bit longer than that. Sometimes it's a week, maybe 2 weeks, maybe it's a month. Maybe you want to go on a trip before you move into your new house because you're going to have work being done and you renovations. You know, that's where storage and moving go hand in hand. It's very important to have somewhere safe and most importantly, climate controlled. You know, you definitely, if you have just furniture in general, even just a bed, even if it's a bed you've had for 15 years, you don't want to put that in a non-climate controlled. Non-climate controlled storage units have their value. You know, any outdoor equipment, they're typically cheaper, you know, for a reason. They're not climate controlled. It's essentially your garage. But if you're going to put your household goods, you know, the couch that you watch your flicks on or whatever it may be, like you want that climate controlled. So it's very important. Even in the short term, if you've lived in your home for 20 years and it's time to redo the kitchen or it's time to redo the floors upstairs and you don't have someplace to store it on site, bring it there for a little bit, have a mover help you with that. We even offer a mobile storage. We have our pods. You know, we can drop that in your driveway and you can use that as temporary storage if you think it's going to be an easy turnaround, but not climate controlled. So you want to be careful what time of year you use, you know, any outdoor storage, you know, just wood and heat or wood and frigid temperatures. They don't bode well together, you know?
I think our books are in there because we haven't built our bookshelves yet. So I've got like a couple hundred books, and I have a lot of books in there. I miss them a lot. I've got some furniture we never really dealt with. I've got some stuff.
We're taking good care of them, I promise. They're in a good condition, I swear. All of our facilities, especially that Hudson one, I mean, that filled up super quick. Before the first building, even like before the last nail was hammered, it was more than 50% full. And the new facility, that's already halfway booked. It's huge because we need more storage down there for sure.
Are there VIP suites? Are there like, is there certain tiers of luxury?
I wouldn't say that. I will say they're brand new. You know, we take a lot of pride in making sure they're safe. Again, the climate control is the biggest thing. But I mean, I'm not opposed to rolling out the red carpet. I can put some suede down. You know, I'm not opposed to doing that.
You hear that, Ryback? What about stuff? Like, do people like store really weird stuff, or do you have no idea?
If they have put it in there, it may or may not be something I can say over the camera. No, but just like anything, I mean, people have some very unique stuff, and I can't say that I've ran into anything that alerted me, which is a good thing. But you know, when you open up a unit and there's a couple mannequins because they're like a seamstress or something of that nature, and that's the first thing you see. I mean, it can be a little scary.
That's funny. And do people kind of like just set it and forget about it? Like I watch those TV shows like Storage Wars and stuff where people just kind of abandon their stuff. Does that happen a lot, or is that a myth?
Unfortunately, that does happen. I mean, some people have too much stuff. You know, that's just the nature of online purchasing or PVC back in the day, you know. But yeah, we have some very long-term customers, and eventually they come back, or you know, there's unfortunate situations where the families might have to be the ones to help clear that out. And you know, that's something that we do help with a lot. We make sure that we can take and mitigate a lot of that stress, and there's some pain and there's just some emotions with that. So you know, it's just the nature of it. It is unfortunate, you know, just like when a family member may unfortunately pass and you're kind of left with the house and you have to clean that out. And there's things that, you know, you want, but you don't have space for it yet, or you want your kids to have, and we can go out in there and kind of help fan through that, bring it to a safe spot until you're ready for it. So, but yeah, most certainly, I mean, people can set it and forget it.
Do people ever like try to sleep in those units or anything?
I haven't caught anyone, but I have heard stories. You know, I think his name was like Old Joe. No, I'm just messing. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Definitely not our units. They're very secured, but I've seen some stuff.
Hey, thanks for listening to Cidiot. This show is all about getting you to visit or move upstate. So when you're going to move anywhere or store anything, I can tell you from personal experience to tap maybes. Ryan and I have moved with him twice, and we store a whole bunch of stuff with them now. No wonder the Register Star just named Maybes Moving and Storage Columbia County's best moving and storage company. So if you're looking to move locally or long distance, or need to store long or short term, call Maybes at 518-283-0017 for a free estimate today. You'll find the number on the episode page and the show notes. Thanks, and now back to the show. How much of your business is storage versus moving?
It's tough. The moving industry is definitely busier just because we turn a lot more clients in the moving industry. Storage is a couple-month relationship, which we love. We love to build relationships. Our property managers are fantastic. But I would say the storage is a bit more passive and the moving is a lot more active. We're doing a lot more on the moving side.
I just think about my back, like just physically demanding. Are people trained to do this? Are they like
Oh, yeah.
checked on? Like, how does this work physically?
Yeah. We have a quality manager who's also the training manager. So when we get new hires, he actually built like a whole training trailer. So he took one of our older trailers and fitted out to kind of look like a 2-bedroom apartment. So when the new hires come in, he'll teach them how to, articulate items to get around certain stairwells and stuff of that nature. It's really important to make sure these guys aren't just going in, or just anyone in general that comes on board, that they're not just going in there and throwing stuff around. Like, we do have a standard. That is a very, very important thing. Our Google reviews are extremely important to us, but it goes right into, carrying things properly, not to, damage any of the walls. There's a really funky, like, behind the back carry. I don't know if you were able to witness it when we moved you, but they don't really carry the boxes normally. They kind of put it on the ground and they squat and they use their back as like a ramp.
I can't watch them move. I'm so stressed out. So Brian always does them. Is that what they do? They kind of walk about the box.
Yeah. Yep. It's a lot safer. Weight belts, lifting straps, everything of that nature. We make sure we set the guys up for success. If it's hot, if it's cold, they're going to get warm. They're going to get beverages in them. We make sure that they're taken care of. And that's the thing to keep in mind. In the dead of winter, they're going to go slower. In the dead of summer, they're going to go slower. They need to take breaks to either warm up or cool down. Safety is a huge, huge priority. We don't want anyone fainting or falling or anything of that nature. So,
what's the gender split? Like, is it all guys?
It's heavy. It's more heavy on the male side, but there are a few females who will put anyone else under the table. But a majority is male side. That's just kind of the nature of the industry itself.
What's the deal with brokers? Like, what are they? Why would you call a broker?
That's a hot topic right there, Matt. A broker, just like anything, they don't work for a moving company. They are a sales-based individual, typically sitting out of like a call center. There are some brokers who are solo, but they don't work for a moving company. They're going to like disguise themselves as like, our national van line is Atlas Van Lines. They may be like Atlas Worldwide Transportation, and they try and make it seem like they work for the moving company, but they don't. Their goal is to get your information, get a deposit, which is a big red flag, huge red flag. You do not want to pay a deposit to a moving company. And then they're just going to sell your information off. They could find someone on Craigslist or, Joe Schmo who owns an LLC moving company. And they're going to, if they show up, which I think you said you experienced something like that before, it's not going to be that quality service that an actual mover is going to give you. The number one telltale sign that you're dealing with a broker is if they do ask for a deposit. True movers do not require deposits. You pay for this when the job is done. Second off, I mentioned before a transparent survey process. Make sure you can see the person. Make sure they can see what's going on, whether it's in person or virtual, like I had mentioned before. If they're just on the phone with you and they're saying like, oh, you have a 2-bedroom apartment? Yeah, sure. That's going to be this. How am I supposed to know that that's legit? Just do your research. Make sure that they have a brick and mortar. That's the number one telltale sign that you are dealing with a real person. Look up their website, see if they have an actual brick and mortar somewhere, like a warehouse.
That's incredible. I didn't even know that was an issue. Wow.
Oh yeah. And coming from the city, it's pretty big down there. It is that a lot of it happens in like New York City, Philadelphia, like Tampa. That's going to be a big thing for brokers, but they are moving upstate. They 100% are. You will come across them in local moves. You just will, but they are going to be more prevalent in the interstate moving, long distance moving, where the moves are going to cost thousands of dollars because you're going 1,000 miles. That's the nature of those types of moves. But you really want to be on the lookout and just do your research. Get more than one estimate. I shouldn't say that because I want you to work with me. But if you're not going to be here local and moving throughout the area, you got to do what's best for yourself. Just do the research.
I always ask everybody like what their favorite place to go is that nobody else knows about. So feel free to take us far or close. Where do you like to go?
So we have another home up in Minerva, New York, which is up in the Adirondacks. If you're going to be in Columbia County, drive the extra hour and a half and just go visit the Adirondacks.
Yeah.
Whenever I get off the exit, I feel like I can breathe. It's just gorgeous up there. I live up there like every weekend during the summer. Yeah, but in Columbia County, Golden Harvest has the best cider donuts I've ever had. They're delicious. And there's a distillery attached to it. So, I mean, that's the best of both worlds.
That's great. All right. Well, Ryan, thank you for coming on Cidiot. I'm not ready for my next move, but hopefully other people that are listening are.
I appreciate it. And, it's cool to talk to another local individual who's had a good experience with us. I can say local now since you're no longer down towards the city.
I'm so flattered.
I'll just end with, don't be scared to reach out to a moving company. Like the Reddit posts that you're looking at are probably brokers. They're horror stories that you see posted everywhere. I promise you, there's probably a reason that those were typed up. Don't let it discourage you. Talk to a local mover. Reach out to me. I'm happy to just have a conversation. We are very real. Movers out there are very real. There is the white glove service. So just don't let Google determine the experience you think you're going to have. Go reach out to someone. I think you'll be surprised. And Matt, I think you can attest to that.
Yeah, I love that. Don't let Google make you think the experience you haven't yet had. I think good advice.
Yeah, exactly. Stay off Reddit. I don't want to be a Reddit statistic because it's bad.
Thank you.
Absolutely, Matt. Thank you. This was a lot of fun.
Down in the valley, moved up from the city. It's a new way of living and I'm trying to get used to it. 1 pot noodles, half an ounce of an idiot. Ordered a Manhattan and they call me a Cidiot. At first I hurt my feelings, but it's kinda got a ring to it. When you move to the country, they can tell when you're new to it. I'm looking at a place, but I'm trying to keep fitting in. It takes too long to be a local, so for now I'm a Cidiot.